Hello people, this is Connie from Cam Decorations. Right, I'm going to talk to you about spray tips and what I personally use on a building site. So let's get straight into it. Now, for mist coating, now I know a lot of guys on site, they rather just use their 517. The way I see it, especially on plasterboard walls, as in dry lined walls, you want to saturate those boards. You want to get as much paint on there as you possibly can do. So what I use a 621 tip. So, and that's purely because of the amount of paint it throws on there. You want to stop those boards from furring up. And the best way to stop those boards from furring up is to saturate it with paint. So I actually use a 621 tip. Now, this is just preference. This is just my choice and my opinions. So I'm going to show you 4 tips that I have used in the past and what I have actually got in my kit right now. The first one, and I'll go through all the pros and cons with the tips in that. First one, the 517 Titan. It's an alright tip. It's not bad. I personally believe it produces a lot of overspray, so I do not use this that much. The fan pattern's okay. Gives a nice, decent pattern on the wall. It's a decent tip. I just personally believe it produces a lot of overspray. 517 low pressure tip. Now, this one is good, but I wouldn't use it on the building site. Now, the reason why is it's the low pressure thing. Now, it's great because I know for a fact you can get this tip working around 1500 psi, which is great, and obviously you won't get the overspray. Problem is, you don't get the speed either. So while this is really good on overspray, you are working at a slower speed. And if you're like me, I'm a price worker, I get paid by the amount of work I do. This doesn't really cut it at such a low pressure. So I would be looking to get this really working at the pressure that you're working at. You'll be looking around 2000 psi. So it makes it redundant. It's no longer a low pressure tip because you're working at 2000 psi. So this is one of the reasons why I wouldn't use it. Another reason is the finish on the wall is too fine. And I'll go into that a bit more detail later on in this video, but it's too much of a fine finish. So that's another reason why I don't use this tip. So this one here, Tritech tips, I love them. I absolutely love this tip. You've got so much control. The overspray is excellent. It's honestly, it really does give a little overspray. And these tips last forever. They're just so strong. Yeah, these tips are amazing. I mean, they last ages. They do last longer than a Graco tip, without a shadow of a doubt. The spraying pattern is so soft on their outer edges. I mean, it just blends in so nicely in it. And when you spray it on the walls, it's so smooth. I mean, it's an excellent tip. And this is the thing about it. It's so good. It's too good for a building site. You cannot use this on a building site. It's too good. It gives too much of a good finish. So, and this is the mad thing. On a building site, because you paint your sprayer house and you come out there, everyone comes in there, does their finals, absolutely demolish the houses. I mean, they destroy them. So you've got to touch them up. The finish on this is too fine. And even with the roller, you can roll it out. You can roll it down, the emulsion, roll it out. It just won't spot him really. And that's why I don't use it. Also, another thing that I've noticed that the actual width of the fans are kind of small. So I don't even know if you can see. Should be able to. This is a 617. So I found the 517s are smaller than the Titans and the Gracos. They're just a smaller width in fan. I mean, obviously it should be a 10-inch fan, and it's more like a 9-inch fan. I just find it a little bit too small, and this is why I went with the 617 for spraying internally. But as I say, it's an excellent tip. I love these tips. It's just too good to be on the building site, which is a shame, really. So what I prefer to use are on the walls are the Gracos. So I use a 517. It's just your go-to tip. They leave a slight texture on the wall, almost looks like a roller look if you really look at the wall. And this is why I use the Graco, because it has that effect. So when you do touch up with a roller, it kind of blends in, no matter what you paint. You may disappear. Bye-bye.
See ya.
It's okay, you're getting cut out. You're getting cut out. Oh. All right. Why, you want to be in it? No.
Can I say like and subscribe?
You can jump in and say that.
What's that?
I'll say it now.
Like and subscribe.
I'll put that at the end.
Okay.
Now I've lost my train of thought. Now I don't know where I am. This gives a textured effect on the wall. Obviously not really textured. I mean, you're not going to look at it and think, oh my God, look at the state of that. It gives a slight texture rather than this tip here. So you're just able to touch it in a lot better than what you would be with this. And that's my go-to tip, obviously a 517. Another tip for you. To find out how long your tips last, best thing to do, let's get this right close up to the camera so you can see it. Right, okay. Now, if you can see, there's scores in it. Now, every score represents a house that I've sprayed with this tip. So I mark this up so I know exactly how many times I use it and how close I am to needing to replace it. Now, I picked up along the way through the years of painting and that, but that's an excellent idea I'll put out to you and that. Mark your tips so you know exactly how long you've had that tip and when you need to replace it. I mean, obviously you'll know when it's gone, but the thing is, you won't, just like me, I don't buy loads of tips at a time, I buy one at a time. So if I know I'm coming to the end, I get to like, usually these last between 8 to 10 houses. This has got 9 marks on there. I'm pushing it, but I know I'll be able to get one more house out of this. So I know now that I need to buy another one. Hence, brand new tip. So that's another good idea. Mark your tips. Right. Go-to tips for woodwork. I use a 310. I use that on your windowsills. I use that on the skirting boards. I use that on the banister. I've even used it on the doors. I do prefer a larger tip, but I do use these on the doors. These are nice to put decent amount of paint on. I do like these FFLP tips. So it's fine finish, low pressure tips. And I do like these. And my go-to tip is a 310. If I'm spraying doors, I like to use a 410. Some people say, well, why don't you just use a 510? Because the way I spray, usually the doors are hanging when I'm spraying the woodwork. They're hung. So if I use a 510 spraying the doors, I want to spray the frame as well at the same time. And a 510 is just way too big. Way too big of a fan. Too much paint being wasted. I can control it a bit with the 410. I can go around and give the frames the first undercoat with a 410 when I double up on my doors. So that's the reason why I use a 410 on my doors now. I don't need to show you a 410 because it just looks like this. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know where it is. I've lost it. It's only 2 weeks old. I've used it once and I've lost the bloody tip. So there you go. So there you go. These are my tips. Just a quick one. Filters. Right filter. Right job. Red one. 310. White one. 621. Also 517s. Yellow ones. 514s. And also 517s. Right, so my go-to tips are the Graco 310. 410 as well if you're doing doors. Graco for walls 517. Misco 621. Seriously, forget about the 517s. Now I believe they're too small. Don't put enough paint on the wall. Go 621. Trust me, you do it once and you will not change that tip again and go 517. Much quicker as well. 621 on the walls and that. So there you go. There you have it. They are my go-to tips.